Wazam, YouTube. The topic of who's the greatest rapper of all time is something that always comes up, and one name I always hear but always question why people place him there is Jay Z. Is he overrated? Let's talk about it. Jay Z's longevity is one of the main reasons why people feel that he is the greatest of all time. His first album, Reasonable Doubt, dropped in '96, and to this day in 2023, you can still find him on a feature or hinting at a new release himself at the age of 53. Hip hop has always been known to be a young man's sport, so this is where I can give Jay Z a lot of credit. He's been able to blend through each era, attaching himself to new artists or existing big artists with a buzz. But through his 25 plus year career in hip hop, when has he ever been considered the number one best undisputed top artist in the game? Let's go through the years that Jay's been active in hip hop and see his competition. From 96 to 97, there was still a massive wave for Biggie and Tupac. From 98 to 2000, it was Ja Rule, DMX, and Master P. From 2000 to 2003, it was Eminem and Dr. Dre. From 2003 to 2007, it was 50 Cent and G Unit Stronghold. From 2007 to 2011, it was Kanye West. This is where Jay-Z capitalized off Kanye West by collabing with him for Watch the Throne, because Kanye at the time had way more buzz than Jay-Z. So at this point, Jay-Z would be about 41 years old and still never had a clear run in hip hop where he was seen as the number one artist. How can you be seen as the greatest of all time if you couldn't even hold that title on a given year? Jay-Z has released a total of 13 solo studio albums, selling roughly 33 million copies in the USA, all of them going at least platinum. His highest selling album, Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, has reached 6 million sales. He also has collaboration albums with artists like Kanye West and R. Kelly, but for comparison reasons, we're gonna leave those out. He is one of the highest selling hip hop artists of all time, but there's also another rapper from New York that even Jay-Z knew was a threat.
You know, I remember one time walking in the studio, Bleak Beans, everybody was in there, and I was like, man, I'm telling you, man, y'all got a chance right now, just flood it, put out a lot of music, because 50 Cent is coming. And, you know, 4 months later, in the club hit, and it was over. And It was just like, okay, now everybody got to sit on the sidelines and wait this tidal wave out.
50 came into hip-hop kicking in the door with massive anticipation from fans all around the world and took over the industry like a tidal wave, with the largest selling debut hip-hop album of all time, Get Rich or Die Trying. Side note, for some reason on the RIA website, I couldn't find an updated US sales for 50. The last update was made in 2020, but regardless, we'll use these numbers. 50 sold 9 million with Get Rich or Die Trying and 6 million with his second album, The Massacre, and then going platinum one more time with Curtis, although it's not listed on the IRAA website.
Men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
50 had a total of 5 albums selling about 18 million records in the US, but his real success came worldwide. Here's 50 himself setting the record straight.
Now, AMAs, couple men lie, women lie, numbers don't.
Yeah.
Now, everybody was saying Jay-Z was taking a shot at you.
And I didn't take it that way, because if we looked at all of the numbers, you see I did his career in 4 years.
I heard you say that before.
Years, in 4 years. So you can't, I wouldn't say that. I mean, the largest selling album he's had internationally sold 430,000 copies. Hard Knock Life. I sold 5 million twice. So when we leave here, you know who's who.
The only reason Jay-Z outsold 50 Cent is because he had way more solo projects out than him. It's like LeBron having more points than Jordan only because he played more games. If we compare their two biggest albums against each other, Get Rich or Die Trying versus Volume 2, Hard Knock Life, 50 outsold Jay with his debut album against an album released well into Jay's prime. Their Billboard Top 100 chart stats are also a win for 50 because with just 41 entries on the Top 100 with far less music released, he is tied with Jay for #1 hits with 4. All those extra records and time in the game, and still an artist like 50 was able to put up similar numbers to Jay. Even when it comes to streaming, 50 Cent has 31 million monthly listeners on Spotify, while Jay-Z has 35 million with a larger catalog and much more recent music releases. Rap beef is an essential part of the game that can promote an artist, raise likability, and sales. Jay-Z throughout his career has been into many beefs with artists like Nas, 50 Cent, and even Drake. But I want to play this clip of 50 Cent describing what it's actually like to beef with Jay before we get into it.
He's a piece of work, man. He always put somebody in front of him. When Jada came for him, he put Beanie in front of him. And Beanie went back and forth with Jadakiss. When Cam came for him, he put True Life in front of him. And they went back and forth. And he just didn't compete.
It's hard to beef with someone who's too arrogant to participate, and this has been a common theme in Jay's career. One of the most impactful feuds ever to be witnessed in hip-hop was with Nas, but this feud also started with Nas going at Jay on his song The Message. Jay would then mention Nas on the song Rap Game Crack Game, and then proceed to put Memphis Bleek in front of him to fight his battle. Nas would easily fend off Memphis Bleek, which would lead to Jay Z dropping his diss track Takeover against Nas. The beef would soon end when Nas dropped his track Ether that set the hip hop world on fire. Here's a quote from an article describing the scathing diss. He called Jay Z ugly, a misogynist, employed a lot of unsavory homophobic slurs at him, and alluded to an affair he had with Foxy Brown. He also mentioned that Eminem outshined him on his own song Renegade and that Hove stole his rhyming skills from Biggie. This loss to Jay has left a stain on his legacy, especially because it is once again another artist from New York. I don't think it's possible to be the greatest of all time if you're on the losing end of one of the most historical rap beefs in history. And it makes it even more impossible when you're not even the greatest from your own city. I think a lot of the Jay Z is the greatest of all time narrative is based off of everything but hip hop. It's like Jay said himself, I ain't got a billion streams, I got $1 billion. Fans of his tend to use arguments like he's the best businessman, or his wife is Beyonce, or he made the Yankee hat famous, or he's a billionaire. But what about the actual music, sales, beef, impact on hip hop? I'm not saying he hasn't been one of the best in these categories because that's not true, but the way that he's just placed at the #1 spot by publications like Billboard makes it feel like the spot is paid for. Most of the artists on this list should be ahead of him. Having Tupac, the actual GOAT of hip hop, at number 4 and Jay Z at 1 is just insane. 50 Cent and Nas were both able to outshine him, and I think that even J. Cole, Jay Z's own artist, claimed the spot ahead of him. When it comes to strictly hip hop, I think Jay falls somewhere within the top 20 of all time, but we need to stop overstating his position, especially with irrelevant arguments. But let me know what you guys think. Am I tripping? Let me know in the comments. And drop a like and a sub if you like the video. I'm gone.